Hey everyone. This is Kate Weatherwise, your favorite weather girl, coming to you on Sunday, February 1st. It is February 1st. Tomorrow is Groundhog's Day, and I feel like it's pretty appropriate. I've said that several times to everyone in my weather group because the weather just kind of keeps repeating itself this winter. We've had a few bouts of cold, we've had some cold snaps, but not long enough to where it's really going to make a difference when spring starts to sprout and those bugs start to return and all of those sorts of things. I'll get into a little bit about, and I got into a little bit about on my post in my weather group, I think it was yesterday, about March perhaps becoming the only month that is actually going to be winter time for us this year. We have had a very up and down, above average winter, below average snowfall. There has not been really much in the way of snowfall for the past month in the Cascades into Northeast Washington. There's been some snow in Northeast Washington. They've gotten a lot more snow than a lot of other places, but also into northern Idaho and even western Montana. There's been some snow there. They've had their fair share of snow, but not as much as they typically see. The Cascades are down a bunch by percentage wise, and we'll take a look at some of those snow totals in the mountains at the ski resorts, because that's where they have all of the monitors, and based on that, around all the mountains in the area, all throughout the state of Washington specifically, and Idaho and Montana and many other areas in the West. That will tell you how the watershed, how the rivers are going to flow, all of those sorts of things. And we have a lot of dams and such around in eastern Washington. So those situations are monitored quite closely for spring runoff and potential droughts, and the potential for fire season in the summertime and hot temperatures and all that sort of stuff. So it has been an interesting winter to say the least. Now, I'm going to take us over right now to the satellite imagery. This is of the whole country. We're going to focus from about here west, and there's not a lot going on. There is some precipitation that fell today as rain in eastern Washington. Now it has moved over into North Idaho and into western Montana. It is still rain for them because the temperatures are so warm. And we'll take a look at temperatures here in a moment. There is some rain that's falling in the Cascades currently. Probably at the higher peaks, there's some snow where it's cold enough. And I believe some mountaintops in the Cascades have seen a few inches of snow today, but down at, say, pass level and things like that, it's been rain. And there's a little bit of rain out on the coast as well on the peninsula. And then if you go down into Oregon, there's some rain, but there's really not any rain or any precipitation falling in the rest of the West. There's some cloud coverage, and the winds are most notably out, either variable or out of the south or southwest in a lot of these places. Eastern Montana, you've gotten in on a lot of the cold when these cold, I call them cold plunges, have come down from Canada. They have clipped you in eastern Montana, northeastern Montana more specifically, but western Montana, southwestern Montana, you've been in more of a warmer or above average temperature-wise pattern for this winter, along with everyone else here in the West. So, as you can see, there's not a whole lot going on. Now, let's take us over to the temperature map, and we will see what the temperatures look like here in the West currently. We'll start out here in the Northwest and Inland Mountain West, where temperatures are in the 40s. There's some 50s here in Western Washington. There's some 30s here, upper 30s in Eastern Washington. There's some 40s and 50s down into Idaho, 40s and 50s in Western Montana. See, the colder air is is sticking up here around northeast Montana, like I just mentioned. And then, of course, you start getting into the Dakotas and it gets a little bit colder, but it's still not that cold. 42 degrees in Rapid City. That's pretty warm. You get down into Wyoming, it's pretty warm down here too. Not a lot going on weather-wise for you all. Colorado, in the mountains, it's a lot colder, but you get down to the surface and it is pretty warm. California, this has been outside of the atmospheric river situation that you had in early January. It has dried out and it has not been too bad for you weather-wise. There's been some Santa Ana's bouts with that a couple times. It's really nice down here in San Diego. Look, 80s down here, but not a lot going on weather-wise. That's why I have been focusing a lot of my weather videos on the East Coast this winter, because there hasn't been a whole lot going on for all of January, except for California and some few things here and there. But overall, the weather has been quiet and calm, and a high pressure has really been entrenched. And speaking of that, let's go to the atmospheric pressure view of turn it in from the satellite to the atmospheric pressure. This kind of tells the story. And I have talked about this in my Eastern United States videos, and one that I just posted earlier today, where this is the pipeline of these cold plunges up in the Arctic, plunging down from the Arctic area all the way down into the United States, where you clip northeastern Montana, and then they're just coming straight into the US and all the way down into Florida and into Cuba, and where we have been sitting underneath high pressure and calm air, calm winds. There hasn't been a lot in the way of winds. There's been winds, I shouldn't say all over the place. There's been calm winds. There's been winds in typically windy areas like Wyoming and Colorado. There's been some fire weather watches and some, things like that have cropped up. But for the most part, the weather has been on the calmer side. And as you can see, this high pressure is blocking these systems from making their way into the area. They're keeping them at bay. They're going up into Canada or up into Alaska instead of plowing into us. So that is what is going on here currently. And I'm going to just pop over here really quickly to check out the Western United States. Not much in the way of watches, warnings, advisories going on here in the Western. There's some dense fog advisories, some air stagnation advisories for Central California, and then also some of the same thing going on into Idaho and northeastern Montana. You have a winter weather advisory going on, but there's nothing else going on, and maybe a wind advisory here for southeastern Wyoming, which is not out of the norm for them. But other than that, there's not a whole lot going on in the whole country outside of this system finally exiting off into the Atlantic. But there's not much in the way of anything going on here. So let's go over to, I'm going to take us to the northwest first, and then I will zoom out to the whole country, and then we can focus on the west there as well. But this is what's currently going on. There has been a little bit of rain today for eastern Washington, some far, far northeastern Washington, and into north Idaho. You maybe saw some mixed precipitation or some snow falling. There has been a bit more snow up here. My husband has gone ice fishing a couple times this year, and it's been late. It's almost been on the sketchy side because the ice is not that deep up here into northeast Washington. Now, there is more rain. Like I said, there's some snow in the higher peaks of the North Cascades, but it's all rain at pass levels, maybe some snow around Stevens Pass, maybe some mixed precipitation. This purple, lighter purple, is indication of mixed precipitation. And then when you get to the around the Canadian border, that's where you're going to see the snow. And here to Hurricane Ridge and the Olympic Mountains, top of the Olympic Mountains, this is also mixed, not full on snow. And then some rain showers all the way down into Oregon. And that's what we are looking at. Now, if we go ahead in time, this is Monday morning. We have another system that's going to come in, but it's going to also bring in some heavier rain into Western Washington, into some mixed precipitation here, the Olympic Peninsula and those higher peaks, and some snow perhaps down to pass level in the Cascades, which will be nice because that hasn't happened. The past report, they had about 3 inches of snow up on Oppental, which is not at pass level. In the past 3 days, they've had 3 inches of snow up on Oppental. So that tells you the story, and we'll look at that. So this is Monday afternoon. So mixed precipitation and some snow at pass level as this front comes in and gives us some snow in the Cascades. So that will be a welcome sight for our Monday evening here for some snowpack to build back up. But it's going to be short-lived, and we're even going to get some rain over here in eastern Washington tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening. A little bit of rain, not a whole lot, not a gully washer, but some light rain, and then some mixed precipitation and or snow here in northeastern Washington into North Idaho, which will push into western Montana as well. And then some continued rain, and then it sort of dries out, and that those above average temperatures start to creep back into our area, which will lead into upper 40s and perhaps 50 degrees by Wednesday and Thursday of this week for eastern Washington. Now, we've had above average temperatures for pretty much the most of January. There was a week or so where we were cold, and that normally we were at normal temperatures and maybe perhaps below normal, but that was for about a week, and that was about 10 days ago. But we're going to go back over above average temperatures and even hit 50 degrees perhaps by Wednesday and Thursday of this week. So then we have another glancing blow from a system by Wednesday. That's not going to come in. This high pressure is going to settle back in, and it's going to keep that system at bay, along with a little bit of wind that it's bringing. And then it's just going to keep us in another dry stretch. Next weekend looks like it's going to fill back in and give us some more rain in the general area, maybe some snow at those higher peaks, hopefully at Schweitzer Mountain, maybe at 49 degrees north. We'll see as we get closer. But this is Saturday during the day into Saturday evening. Snow on the mountains, a little bit of mixed precipitation, rain in western Washington out on the peninsula, and then some more rain comes in for overnight Saturday into Sunday, and then into Sunday as well. So it looks like this next weekend is going to be a much rainier weekend than this weekend, and it looks like the temperatures are still going to be above average, so it's going to be snow for only the higher elevations up in northeastern Washington. It's going to be rain for around the Spokane area, which includes where I live, includes over into like Coeur d'Alene, all of you, and then when you head west over into Moses Lake towards Ellensburg, that whole stretch is going to see mainly rain. Now, as you get to Snoqualmie Pass, this is on Saturday night into Sunday morning. We're going to see some mixed precip and perhaps some snow down at pass level. So that will be nice to add to our snowpack totals. And then it turns more showery in nature into Sunday afternoon, which is Super Bowl Sunday. And I am a huge Hawks fan, so I'm going to get this in. I will talk about Super Bowl weather here later this week, but go Hawks and go Hawks. Those are my boys. Okay, back to it. So showery in nature on next Monday the 9th, and then we sort of continue with the showery nature in to Tuesday. So we have a couple days of some showers, maybe some mixed precipitation for some areas. But again, this is a week away and temperatures are going to be marginal. Maybe some colder air will sneak back in from the north, but these are things that I will be keeping an eye on as we move on in the week. So we zoom out to see the whole United States. I'm going to push this back to the beginning, and we see that precipitation that has been falling today. And for the rest of the West, this high pressure here, and then another high pressure over Colorado. And these systems just kind of come in and then they go up and then they come back down and then they hit somewhere over here in the eastern or midwestern part of the country. And that's just the way it's been pretty much for a while now. Now, towards the middle of the week, or towards the end of the week, next weekend, when that next system comes in, I want to show you how you can see this high pressure is just dominant over here. And then that low pressure, that trough that comes in and just slides that cold air this way while this high pressure is over here towards the west. Now, this is the system that's going to come in on Saturday. And it brings behind it that colder air. Do you see that? And it's going to create sort of like an omega high. So there's going to be towards end of next weekend into the following week. This is the 9th of February. We're going to have a high pressure here in the middle of the country, and it's called an omega high, where there's low pressure out west and then a high pressure here in the middle and then low pressure again back east. So that looks like that's going to be in our vocabulary for next weekend, and it's going to create some snow here into the mountains of Oregon, into Idaho, into western Montana, southwestern Montana, which will be really, really good, a really, really, really good sight to see. And then that moves on. So this is Tuesday, February 10th, and I'm not going to go beyond that because of the time frame. Things tend to change especially beyond a week. And so I wanted to keep this at a week. But if we go over to the temperatures, it's going to be, this is this morning, and then I want to show you that warmth that's going to come in on Wednesday. This is Tuesday night into Wednesday in the 50s, 40s and 50s, and then Wednesday again 40s and 50s, and this is, into central Montana, into the upper 50s. That is just bananas. That is nuts for this area for this time of year. And, we're just, we're used to wind sideways, blowing snow, all of that for Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, even southern, all of Idaho. I mean, we're just used to much different scenarios. And then so a couple days of warmer than average temperatures again on Thursday in the 40s and 50s, and perhaps this is what when the omega high starts to come into play too, which is why we're going to see some warmth surging in the center part of the country, where it could be in the 60s into central Montana on Thursday. And it'll be the same temperature here. What is that? Great Falls or Helena, Great Falls area of Montana, as it will be in central Texas. And that will get the birds chirping and the trees thinking they need to start budding for sure. But that's not a good thing because winter is not even really close to being over. So Friday again, perhaps some more warmth, 61 again in central Montana. That's just not what you want to see this time of year, but that's what we have. And then over the weekend, again, that omega high is still going to be in play a little bit. And then by next week, it should start to break down. But we'll still be under the influence of the above average temperatures with the colder temperatures back east. But that is what we have going on for weather-wise. I wanted to show you really quickly. This is the United States snow report, 49 degrees north in Washington State, which is near where I live. The past 3 days, they have received 3 inches of snow, and their base depth is 14 to 24 inches, which is abysmal. And it's machine groomed. So they've had to make snow, or yes, I believe they have a snow machine there. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure if they have a snow machine there, but it's only 80% open. Only 80% open. And then you go, like I just mentioned, Appenthal, Washington, the past 3 days, they've had 2 inches of snow, 7 inches of snow over the past, for the next 3 days, they're forecasting 7 inches of snow, which will be verified by the forecast that I just gave. And they've got 32 to 35 inches of snow at their base depth, which is not good at all. 74% open. And then you go over to Ohio, which, who's going to go skiing in Ohio? I don't know. But they've got 60 inches as a base of packed powder, which is naturally falling snow. Michigan, 100% open in Wisconsin. Okay, so anyway, you go to Oregon, Colorado, Arapahoe Basin ski area, 31 inches of machine groomed, only 20% open. Aspen snowmat. So 84% open, 25 to 36 inches of packed powder. So there's just not a lot of snow. Beaver Creek, Colorado, let's see. Machine groomed, 28 inches of base and 45% open. So there's not a lot. Let me see if I can quickly. Blacktail Mountain Ski Resort, 24 inches of packed powder, 48% open. That's just pretty poor. It's pretty poor around the area. And I'm going to take us back over to this because I'm about done my video for today. But there's not a lot of, there's just not a lot of snow around. There will be some snow next weekend. It looks like it's going to add a decent amount. But it's, those incremental raises in the base of the snowpack, that is helpful. And we just want to build on that. It is just February. So we still have 2.5 months of snowfall. And again, I mentioned this to my weather group yesterday, and I mentioned it to another group today, that it's looking like indications are that March could be the month where we will see like our winter show up. And that will take us into early spring where it's going to be cooler and snowier and just, the weather's not going to be great, but it's going to be our winter, which will help in some ways, but then it'll hinder in others because nature wants to start coming alive again in March, and it may not be allowed to yet, so it may throw everything off balance. But again, this is just an observation. We'll see if it actually comes to fruition. I could completely have to change my tune with that, but that's what I'm seeing and indications of. But I will keep an eye on that. I will be reporting on that as it gets closer, updating my thoughts on that as we get closer. But that is the outlook for the next 7 days for the West. I hope you all are having a good evening. Again, I will be back sometime this week to give a Super Bowl forecast for Central California because that's where the Super Bowl is this year, in the San Francisco area. My team is the Seattle Seahawks, so I'm really excited for this Super Bowl rematch with the New England Patriots. So we'll see how that turns out, but I'll give a forecast for that. And if there anything noteworthy or any changes come about, I will be doing other videos and for the West, and I post daily in my weather group on Facebook. So I hope you all are having a good Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. This has been 25 minutes, a lot longer, but I haven't done a video in a while, so I needed to catch everyone up. And so I hope you are having a good night. And again, if you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe, please share, like, comment, hit the notification bell. It really helps me out and I appreciate it very much. All right, I will talk to you later. This is Kate Weathereye saying bye for now.